And good evening, everyone. Oh, well, it's great to be back, and welcome to season 2, episode 3. Again. So, whilst waiting for the numbers to build up, I thought we would have a quick chat with Shane. Shane is producing the show. I am hosting the show. And today we wanted to do something a little bit special. Wanted to make sure that our webinar was not just 4 tiles on a screen. We wanted to have a bit of a high-end, slicker production. And we've had certain challenges. So I thought, cue Shane. Hey. He's got all the gear. Shane, tell us a quick overview while we're waiting for our viewers, the sort of challenges that you've had and the sort of things we might expect from a technical perspective.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to finally be live and actually kind of moving forward this, digital Taunton, for us, it was the next step. We had to do something more online. We had to try and make it as good as we can. And it's actually really difficult. So a little bit of sort of background as to what we're doing tonight. We're using sort of open source software. I can cut to my little camera here. And so behind the scenes, I've got a number of kind of audio decks and running this through a Zoom call. We are trying to include as much kind of, music or audio as much as possible and trying to kind of, do some really nice things. But yeah, it's a learning curve, right? I mean, this is kind of new. A lot of this stuff is new to me. But it's been an interesting few weeks playing with all these toys and figuring it all out. But you're looking good. It looks like you're. John must have let you into company spaces.
Well, don't tell John. I
just break in through a window.
Well, no. Before this, a long time ago, I actually used to work with locksmiths. So I've worked out how to break into a company. I'm sitting here on my own. Just chilling. Thought I'd, rekindle the old spirits. And for those of you that don't really understand the setting, this is Company. Company is an awesome place. It is home to DT. The very generous John Eyre allows us to use his premises. But it's a place to go for hot desks. It's a place to go for awesome coffee, awesome service, and what's more, breaking news here, company will be open in September. Really exciting stuff.
That's awesome.
And John, just in case you think I have broken in, this is all right. You can't really see me right now, but this was like, Shane's gone out, he's got all the gear, so I needed to get something. And having listened to him in his last webinar a few weeks ago, I've gone out, I've bought myself a green screen, some lights.
Man, it's looking really good.
Yeah, I've got all the gear. Some may say with no idea, but I question that. And if you don't believe me, look at this. Check this out. I was coming out.
I love that. Yeah. That looks so cool.
So today, really exciting stuff. We're literally starting off where we left off. So pretty much in March, we had to cancel it for obvious reasons. But we cancelled it, and we had the incredible Kerry and Norton from Tiny Giant. They were going to speak in March, and we're really delighted to have them back today. Back then, we had sponsors Wag and Whiskers. And they are delighted to say our sponsors now. So pretty much, starting off where we left off. So I'll introduce our guests in a minute in a bit more detail. Obviously, the real reason why everyone's tuned in clearly is the great pizza giveaway, right? So, and that's courtesy of Wags and Whiskers. So, we put a poll out on Facebook and LinkedIn to the big question. The big question is pineapples, yes or no on pizzas, right? I'm a big fan of pineapple on pizza, but this is likely to be as decisive or divisive as Brexit, right? So 58 on Facebook say yes to pineapple, and 55% on LinkedIn say yes to pineapple. So pineapple it is. Right, I'm expecting Shane at any point to put in he's got this little box, right? And audio box. I was expecting a few canned glass there.
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. Okay,
Yeah, cheers,
okay,
thanks.
we got the last one now. We got it.
Fantastic. Right, so just going to fly through these really quickly, but there should be 10 people at home with a digital Taunton pizza. So, Danger Mouse, Adam, congratulations. I'm going to whiz through these really quickly. Jenny, Kira, David, Rich and Ol, Mel, Angela, Tammy, Sax, Sophie, and that's it. I've gone too far. Look at that. So yeah, congratulations. Hope you enjoyed this pizza on Wags and Whiskers. So obviously, we want to promote our YouTube channel. Clearly, everyone knows we've got a YouTube channel. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be watching us now. But if you like what you hear tonight and you want to hear more of the same stuff or just different things going on, don't forget to subscribe afterwards. Digital Taunton. Okay, and obviously, big thing for us, big deal is all our social media sites. As you'd expect, it's Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. And ultimately, the more people and businesses that we have following us and engaging with us on social media, the more influence we get over what happens in Taunton in the local area. And as we're here purely to represent what's best for local businesses and the digital community, the more influence that we have means the more influence that you have. So do follow us on all of those socials. And today we're going for 18 months and we've got over 4,000 followers combined. So pretty pleased with that. And obviously don't forget to hashtag Digital Taunt us into any posts. Right, so as I mentioned before, we got some wonderful speakers. So today we're really fortunate and privileged to have two incredibly dynamic entrepreneurial businesses. We've got Jackie Jackie from shophappy.com, who's developed a hub for businesses to plug into. This is my word, so she'll probably say I'm completely wrong about this, but effectively it's kind of turning analog businesses into digital businesses overnight. And even better than that, she's managed to do a deal with our amazing forward-thinking council. So fair play for them. So basically, and hopefully I've got this right again, Jackie will say it, basically no one has to pay anything for a year. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about that. And after that, we've got the award-winning Tiny Giant. Love that name, so cool. So we've got Rich and Kerry, and they're going to blow your mind away with how to use AI creatively, if that's even a thing, right? I can't wait to find out about that. How to stand out for the crowd, and basically how to be an all-out badass having fun with AI. Isn't that right, Norts? Anyway.
Something like that.
Watch out for him. He's a bit high octane. Okay. So for those of you who tune into Digital Taunton and you're a regular, well, actually, sorry, I've jumped the slide. So, I'm Jeremy, as you probably guessed. I'm your host. Shane, as I said, is our producer. He's the tech guy. He's gluing it all together. Hopefully, he's going to make us all look good. He says he's staying off screen, but everyone that knows Shane knows that ain't going to happen, right? He's too much of a glory boy. He's there already. You owe me that 50 quid.
Honestly, I'm enjoying it. It's nice playing with all the attempting to play with the buttons.
Hey, give us a view of what you've got, Shane. Come on, you've got
okay. So I need to just go back into the proper view. So like I said, wow. I've got lights, I've got cameras, I've got these two screens here, but they're not even on at the moment. And there's a laptop here that's running all the slides, audio mixer, and a for the geeks out there, it's called an A10 Mini Pro, which is the video switcher, and a Rodecaster Pro for the audio switching. Yeah, it's all really shiny and the lights are lovely.
How decadent is that? I've got so many screens, I don't even need to use all of them.
Yeah. Oh, and I've actually got a little issue of my GoPro. Look, I've got the little things up. So there you go. Never, ever perfect. And apparently the audio is a little bit on the quiet side. So I am trying to figure that out, but I don't have a solution to that right now. Although I think it's fine.
I'll let you get on with that.
Just turn it up on your TV.
I just project very loudly. So basically, as I was saying before, look, for those of you that tune in, have been to our physical events, you know, we always like to spend a minute just going through and thanking our partners. These guys up here are all businesses that give up their time, give up their very, very valuable time and resources to help Digital Taunton become the success it is. We couldn't do it without these guys. They're every part of us. So, you know, we just want to give them a couple of minutes to basically give them the credit that they deserve and to say thank you. So what's our mission?
I was just going to say, Jeremy, that I think there might have been an issue with that slide then. All the logos are missing to me. Have you broken something? It looked like the logos are missing.
So let's do this together then, right? Make sure I don't think. So clearly the idea
company.
Bureau. Yeah,
we got the Idea Bureau.
Got
Warner Vision, good guy.
Claims Consulting Group.
CCG. Ian Lewis from 360 Southwest.
Yeah. Hey, Nort,
ADPR.
You can tell us a story about them, can't you? Save that for later, though. That's a private joke. And, of course, the wonderful ADPR, Pete from Intro Tweet. God, I hope we haven't forgotten anyone. Oh, right, pressure.
Oh, Mel, Broadcast UK and Glastonbury FM.
Oh, man, that was close. Right, that's it. So anyway, look, our mission, basically, is to make Taunton and the surrounding areas be recognised as a centre of excellence for digital innovation and collaboration across the Southwest and beyond. That's our mission. But we all know what my mantra is and what Shane's mantra is, and that's basically to make Digital Taunton the capital, or to make Taunton the digital capital of the Southwest, right? We've been saying it for the last 18 months. And do you know what? Every month that goes on, I believe it more and more, genuinely. Why do I think that? It's because we've got a hugely diverse set of businesses from here working in Taunton. So we've got digital quilt makers. Yes, there is such a thing, right? Through to world-leading geospatial data specialists, all happening in Taunton. So, and I've seen the energy firsthand, the passion and the desire to make this happen. And it isn't just about the people here. I mentioned before, we've got an awesome council that's fully committed and embraces everything they've got to try and give us, get us the right infrastructure to be leading the UK in everything we do digital. And on top of that, you may or may not have heard, there was a rumor that on the site of Gravity, which is a 635-acre site just up the road from here, Elon Musk apparently was taking a little helicopter ride to check out their land to potentially put a gigafactory there. So surely it's just a matter of time before we make this happen. So I just want to spend a couple of seconds talking about our sponsors. Of course, without our sponsors, it couldn't be possible. We couldn't put on the events. They pay for the night. They pay for the pizzas. I have just got to put my hand up and say slight conflict of interest and also a proud dad moment, right? So Wags and Whiskers, pet sitting and dog walkers, but also she's my daughter, Sax. Started the business just before lockdown, clearly was building up, doing really well. And then, of course, no one wants a dog walked in lockdown, right? But she put a lot of energy into it. She's focused on the customers that she's had. She hasn't given up, lots of tenacity. And I'm super proud of what she has done and created. So I'm really delighted that she's our sponsor tonight, but I thought I'd declare my interest. So Shane, can you play the video for 30 seconds? So obviously that's Wags and Whiskers, Somerset. Find them on Facebook, find them on LinkedIn. But if in that and you want to find out a bit more, you can't remember of their details, message me or message Digital Taunton, and we will give you those details later on. So, okay, and obviously for any people out there that like what they see, that want to have contact with local businesses, forward-thinking, dynamic businesses that are changing Taunton, want to be associated with a cool brand, £199 basically gets you the respect of everyone because you're feeding them pizzas amongst everything else. So do get in touch if you fancy a sponsor. So, few updates. We've as we've kind of resurfaced over the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. We've been have been speaking to lots of different people out there. A lot of you will know that Barclays have partnered with Somerset West and Taunton with the Thriving Local Economies Initiative. And they're basically working with only 4 regions in the UK. And they look to identify the drivers of and barriers to local economic successes. And then they work with local authorities, local MPs, as well as you guys, businesses, community groups like us, to facilitate change. Now, through this initiative, they've launched Back to Business program, which is there to support businesses as we start to unlock and get the economy back on track. Essentially, though, this toolkit is designed to assist planning and actions as we come out of the other side of the pandemic. It's available to anyone in the area and it's free of charge, but you will have to register. The launch date was a few days ago, 22nd. Also, you may remember we were talking to the council about collaborating with them, doing a hackathon to basically facilitate engagement with the Taunton Garden Towns, sort of Taunton Garden Towns status. That's still ongoing. They're trying to ring fence the funds. It's still there, so hopefully we can keep those ring fenced. So as we start to come out of lockdown, we can start getting involved with the hackathon, which will be awesome for Taunton. Really looking forward to that. And then just a couple more things. There's if you check out digitalboost.org.uk. Again, that's digitalboost.org.uk. It's a free digital advice for small businesses and charities that have been impacted by coronavirus, and it's provided by expert volunteers. So it looks pretty. The website looks pretty awesome. Yeah, just check it out there. You might, I know, want to understand Google Analytics. You might want to create a new logo for a new service. Or just develop something online, which is an app thing that we're going to be talking about later. So that's digitalboost.org.uk, free service, worth checking out. And then, I talk about the council quite passionately. They've been massively supportive of us. And it was really, really encouraging to see that they have they've developed their economic development strategy for 2020 to 2024 on the roadmap. And it shows how far that we've come in such a short space of time, because we're considered as strategic partners. But actually, it shows how far the council's come when they think that they're collaborating with people like us who represent the businesses out in Taunton and are truly listening to the experts out there. And to be honest with you, there's no better example of this than the Innovation Hub that they're currently bidding for European grant funding. Now, those of you that came to our live show in January, none of you would have forgotten the incredible, passionate, rather loud, sorry, Mark, if you're listening, but energetic Mark from the council, who pleaded with you to say, look, tell us what it is that you want in this innovation centre, and we'll try and build it for you, and we'll put it in our bid. So, that bid's still ongoing. The council hasn't heard anything yet, but Shane and I have been privy to the outline planning of it. And I've got to tell you, right, first of all, they've listened to what everyone said, right? Second of all, they've not just listened, they really understand. And it just looks, I've got to tell you, it looks phenomenal, the plans. If they get half of what they've asked have proposed, then this will be something to make any other part of the counties jealous, and it will definitely put Taunton on the map. Honestly, it was something out of Tech City in London. Pretty awesome. So fingers crossed. But Mark and the guys at Somerset Western Taunton, thank you for listening. So I'm going to move quickly on to our speakers. Well, it's not quickly at all. And any of you that know me or Shane know that doesn't happen quickly, right? Basically, we've got a spotlight speaker. This slide is usually reserved for government initiatives or local charities. And whilst our speaker is neither of those, as I mentioned before, she's managed to negotiate with the council its services for free for a year. Now, hopefully, I've got that right because I mentioned that a couple of times. So I thought it would be only right to introduce Jackie and Shop Happy. And I'm probably stealing all of Jackie's thunder now, so there's probably no need for us to say anything. But Shop Happy provides small businesses and services the opportunity to connect with an abundance of new customers, showcase products and offerings, and even deliver and organize a super easy click and collect service. So enough of that. I've probably not done this justice at all. I'm going to now hand you over to Jackie.
Thank you very much. And you got it all right. Yes, it is 12 months free. What Shop Happy is basically us fighting for a better future for places. For too long, our high streets have been in decline. We've had a decade of doom and gloom about our high streets. Yet what we always see are amazing independents, lovely small businesses that are just struggling to compete with the online giants. So I created shophappy.com about 4 years ago in an attempt to level the playing field and enable local customers to support and shop local more easily. And for me, I used to commute on a ring road. When I got home from work, the shops were closed. So what I wanted to do was to be able to shop from all my local different shops and actually click and collect from one single collection point. Sometimes that was a pub because two of my favourite hobbies are gin and shopping. So that seemed like a perfect combination to me. But what we need to fight for is a better future for places. If we want a better future for the planet, we need to support local more. If we want a better future for our mental health and well-being, we need to support our communities. And what we've seen through COVID is a realisation of how important digital is in all of that. But it is difficult for small businesses, sole traders, market traders, all sorts to actually get involved. So what shophappy.com provides that platform for every place. Our mission was to level the playing field, to give the power of a superstore to a small business, to give the power of a superstore to a place like Taunton. So this is all about a better future for places. And we had a decade of decline, but now what we see is after COVID, more of us shopping online than ever. £1 in every 3 is now being spent online. Prior to COVID, that was £1 in every 5. So now, our high streets were 10 years behind. Now they're 15 years behind. We need to do something to make it as easy to shop in Taunton as it is from a faceless warehouse in the middle of nowhere. And what we know also is as the COVID restrictions lift, not all of us feel comfortable about shopping in store. So it's so vital that our towns offer us an online as well as an offline experience. So what's the future? It is online, offline, but it's also working together. Many businesses, thank goodness, have moved to using digital to reach customers. They're on Facebook, they're on social, they've got their own websites, all sorts of great things are happening. But it's also really important for them to work together because we know that platforms like Amazon, Just Eat, Uber, all of these work because they're aggregators. So what we want is Taunton to work together online and have a single marketplace platform with a single shop window, meaning you can support 4, 5, 6 local businesses, book things, buy things, have easy click and collect and after hours home delivery. What we've seen over COVID is a massive acceleration in growth of Shop Happy, and we've worked out with our place partners, and we're so happy as well to be working with a council that is a very forward thinking in how it wants to prepare and be future ready. But what we know is all our local businesses do so much good in the community. They give us food, but we've had businesses join Shop Happy who've offered food bank donations. We've had businesses sell their products, but also offer opportunities for people to donate a mix of tasty treats for NHS workers. We're in a really strange time. We're coming out of a horrific global pandemic, and we hope that it gets better. But we've also seen amazing giving and localism coming out of the community. And this is a time to galvanise that and change the future for our places. Stop allowing businesses to close and get them digital in one place instead. And think about our own behaviours, because where we shop changes where we live. We have amazing marketing support that we can offer the businesses. We got great posters and stickers and so on, so we can work as a community. And we're also working with Visa on a support local, shop local platform and a campaign. But what we want to see is that this happens, that we have a collective shop window for every city, town or village. This is where you could land in Taunton and you will see the local businesses. Look at all those humans there. Digital doesn't have to be something that doesn't feel human. It should feel human, and it should facilitate human connections. So you can see the great businesses, you can see where they are, and you can see what they sell. But it isn't just about that. You can also buy from them. So when you're busy, you can buy local. You can see all kinds of businesses. It's not just about shops, it's also about services. You could have an online hair appointment. That's certainly what we've seen over the COVID outbreak. But you can also book appointments with your local digital marketing expert. It's any kind of business. What we want is that online browsing to turn to local spending, because the best way we can bounce back after this is if we all work together and if we encourage our local economies to grow again and bounce back. All kinds of businesses join us. So it is from the most traditional retailer who might never have used online, might not even know what Microsoft Excel is, to those that have their own websites who can just simply integrate with their own websites onto our platform. It's about pop-ups, market stalls. It's about makers, producers. We need our entire economy to be part of place, and that will help our community to stay connected to them. But also we see services and event providers. It's great being part of Digital Taunton's digital event. We've certainly had digital events on Shop Happy. We had a first virtual makers fair, which saw 65 artists join us, and a virtual arts trail happen through one of our towns. Accountants can join us. You can book an appointment with your accountant. You can talk to them. Shop Happy provides a window to products and services. So we often hear that people don't think that local shops have what they sell or what they need. So they think local shops don't have what I need, so they don't necessarily support the local shops. But actually, you'll be amazed at what products are available in your local high streets and your local town centres. And what we have are product categories, so that whatever you have in your area, you will see a product category for it, and you'll be amazed at the variety of everything from services and events to food and drink, fashion, accessories, the lot. Over COVID, we've had amazing innovations happening from entertainers. So we have a cabaret where I live in Saltaire, which basically enable people to buy video greetings cards, have a comedian gatecrashing next Zoom meeting, have a bartender Zoom in and to give you a cocktail masterclass and deliver you a cocktail kit as well. I hope this isn't getting too alcoholic. I better keep it professional. Okay, products and services are always linked to humans. Lots of sites are very, very transactional, but Shop Happy is about the human. So when you're looking at a product, you're reminded that you're supporting a local business. And what we're seeing is more and more of us wanting to spend where our heart is. If you live in Taunton and you love it, then you should be supporting local. If it's easy for you to do so, then why wouldn't you? Bookings for appointments and tables in restaurants, rooms, workshops, activities, all of that can be done through the platform. So what we have here highlighted is an online art workshop, an amazing story of how digital has helped a local business through COVID. This art shop in Banbury had a physical art workshops. Now he made his art workshops online, and now from a class size of 8 that he's getting in his physical shop, he now has art classes of around 40, and people can book the tickets through Shop Happy. So this can really help. If we go into restrictions, easing, locking down, whatever it is, having that digital place constantly there is great for our businesses, it's great for our community. I think it's great for our mental health, that we can still see that the parts of our community are still working and we can still engage with other people. As I mentioned to you, the online events and pop-ups, we keep on saying to people, please don't cancel events. Events are so important. For those people that come in and do a food festival, a vegan festival, a food and drink, or an arts festival, those festivals are absolutely crucial to them carrying on doing what they're passionate about. So Virtual Makers Fair we hosted, it was amazing to have all the artists join that town, but also to see so many of them getting purchases through that and people wanting to support them. Click and collect and home delivery is really a core part of what Shop Happy offers. So it's convenience with a conscience, a local conscience. And it's really important that we realise that people will be shielding. There are vulnerable people. There are people that may not be able to get to the high street, nothing to do with COVID, maybe their own issues. So having click and collect or home delivery really makes a difference and helps everybody in the community stay connected. It's just a website because we don't think that you should have any barriers to accessing your own high street. You should just be able to pop on there, browse, buy, whatever you want to do. But more importantly, we know that when people see products and businesses on that high street online, they're influenced to go in person. And that is the mission of Shop Happy, is to bring footfall and spend back into our high streets, because that'll make the biggest difference to our businesses and our communities. What do we see? Well, when people have gone through a Shop Happy experience, when they bought things, we get great feedback. So we always ask the customers to tell us what they think. What we see are people saying that it encourages them to shop local more. Will you use local shops more? Yes, is often the answer. And that's because it reminds them of what they do, what they sell, and influences and inspires that visit into town. Taunton's such a beautiful town, it will also inspire visitors. Customers are always amazed. They discover places they didn't know existed. Even if a business was there for 8, 9, 10, 13 years, what you see are people discovering businesses they just didn't know were there. And we've seen the impact of online, simply from people saying we've had increasing footfall, we've had new customers coming in. So the more the businesses engage with the platform, the more they talk about it on social media, the more they tell their customers, the better they do. And I'm sure I'm preaching to a converted audience who really get digital. What we have seen are businesses who've described Shop Happy over COVID as a bit of a lifesaver. This business in Seaham saw an 82% increase in turnover through COVID and loved Shop Happy because it was very simple to use. We've always focused on making it as easy as possible so that you don't have to really know technology to be able to use it. It's really easy to use for anybody, sole traders, busy people. Because when we go to a shop, we want to meet someone who's passionate about what they're selling, not necessarily amazing at HTML code. We've won lots of awards, which is great. We were recognised for what we were trying to do in transforming retail and innovating in this space, trying to get the places together in a different way. Everything's become too transactional and it hasn't got enough human in it. Everybody's talking about product and price, but forgetting about people and place. And Shop Happy puts that at the heart of everything we do. And it has gained lots of interest in the media. So there's pieces that have just been written in The Guardian and other things. And what we try to do is tell people the positive story about the high street. We've had too much doom and gloom. So this is the time to change it. And you'll be excited to know that what Shop Happy does is it increases digital engagement. So if people get their training wheels using Shop Happy, they also then start to look at social media. They also start to think about doing their own websites as well. So all of this is about taking people on a journey with us and making sure these lovely businesses survive. So yeah, it's not just about essentials, it's about the whole of the place. We're a well-established platform. We weren't invented over COVID. We existed for 4 years. We changed some things during COVID, but we're right here and obviously delighted to be supported by Visa. So our view is this is the time to act. It's the time to adapt. It's the time to collaborate, because I think there's an amazing opportunity that's come out of COVID, that there's been more localism and more community supporting. What we want is that behaviour to stay. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I really love your product. I'm really excited by it. I've got some questions. Oh, is there some?
Yeah, sorry, me.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, I'm so excited about your product. Really am. I've got a couple of questions I want to ask you, but beforehand, I forgot to mention right at the very beginning, guys. Obviously, you can post your questions, but that's a traditional, boring webinar. Get on the phone, okay? Check this out. Get a pen and a paper, right? This is the phone number, 07956 133 913. I'll just say that again, 0956 133 913. And do you know what? Maybe not for tonight, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to throw in a pizza, right? A free pizza for the first call that comes in. Okay. Right.
What's the number
again? Guests are not allowed to attend, I'm afraid. And nor anyone who's already won a pizza, because that would just be wrong, right? So anyway, free pizza for the first person that calls in. I just made that up on the spot. But so whilst we're waiting for calls to come in, or any calls that will come in later, I just want to check one thing out, right? So I've talked about it being free for a year. You've talked about it free for a year. But what about the commission that you must charge, or the contracts that you can't get out of? Talk to me about that.
We don't do any of that. So we don't charge commission. We think it's really important for customers to know that the money they're spending is going into the hands of local businesses. So we actually don't agree with commission, and we won't do it.
Wow.
We don't tie people into contracts. You'll join us for free. You'll get that support. We have a really great team. We're incredibly passionate about local businesses and places. And what we will do is at the end, we'll invite you to carry on if you want to. And we really hope it embeds in Taunton, because it will make a real tangible difference to your high street, and more important, to the lives of customers who finally will be able to spend money where their heart is.
That's awesome. I know this is a question I love to ask. I like to ask people, right, especially entrepreneurs, because I know the way entrepreneurs think, right? And there's always, if I said the big idea, right? So forget being restrained by the negatives of I haven't got enough resources, or I haven't got enough finance, or I can't do that because it's ridiculous. Everyone would laugh at me and everyone thinks it's ridiculous. Forget all of that. They don't exist in my head, right? And
Jeremy, we have our first caller. Should we let them in?
Yeah, I'll let them in. I'll come back to my question. Who's now? I bet it's Patrick. Is it Patrick for the pizza?
Hang on a minute. Let's see. This is the bit of the process that I'm not sure works very well.
I'll come back to my question. All right, well, whilst we wait.
Hello.
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller. It's Patrick.
Patrick. Patrick's on the line.
It'd be Patrick.
Hello.
How are you, Patrick?
It is me, because I missed out on the pizza.
Well,
I missed out on the pizza earlier on. So
I know.
we
were genuinely surprised why the king of selfies himself did not actually bother to. I mean, free pizza, and we would have given you the flavour of your choice. But there we go. You missed out.
Ham and mushroom.
No, but if I'm the first caller, I've won a pizza. Ham and mushroom.
Well,
no
yeah.
pineapple. Remember that bit. No pineapple.
Oh, the guy doesn't like his pineapple, does he? That's right. So Patrick, have you actually phoned up for pizza, or do you have a question too?
No, I've definitely phoned up. I mean, that Shop Happy was absolutely superb. So I'm really sorry. I can't remember the lady's name. Is she still online?
Jackie, yes, she's here.
Yes, I am, Jackie.
Jackie, sorry, Jackie. So you live in Saltaire. So you're absolutely surrounded by alpacas.
Oh, yeah, alpacas, woolen mills. It's beautiful in Saltaire.
I absolutely love that place. It is the most beautiful town, and people don't really know enough about it. Did you? Yeah,
we always say it's a World Heritage Site. We say, why go to the pyramids when you can come to Saltaire?
Yeah.
Well, Patrick, that was good.
Is that the question?
That was.
Do I need to ask a question?
You just wanted a pizza, didn't you?
Okay.
I told you.
Just leave it there.
Patrick.
It's lovely. Leave him alone. He said something nice. Leave him alone.
I'll come back to my question. Let me finish my question. I did say it would be Patrick, didn't I? Patrick, I've got to say, probably hasn't missed one of our episodes. Yeah, thanks for that, Patrick. And delighted to send you a pizza. I'm actually really. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
So my question to Jackie is it being used in the Saltaire? Presumably that there are shops in that Saltaire kind of area.
Yeah, that was where. Fantastic. Yes. So if you
I can
have
go
a look at
online
Saltaire,
now and Saltaire and buy something.
Yes, you can. You can have a virtual visit, but everything is locally delivered, so we're not going to deliver to Taunton.
That's a local thing.
And I haven't got pizza. I don't think pizza's on it. I'm really sorry about that.
Right. Have we still got Patrick?
So is Patrick still there? Any more questions?
I got rid of him.
No. All right. Let me just finish my question, right? So restraints don't exist, okay? Resources isn't an issue. Finance isn't an issue. What's the big idea with Shop Happy, right? Where do you see this?
Well, our mission is to create better places to live and work and bring convenience with a local conscience to the world. That's it.
Pretty awesome. It's simple, right?
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
That's fantastic. I've really enjoyed that. It's been a pleasure meeting you. It's been lovely listening to you, and really good luck with it. As I'm sure it'll do really well.
Well, I'll hang on. I want to see the rest, but thank you so much for inviting me and letting me chat about it.
Lovely. Cheers. Wow. Okay. So our next speakers, It's all about, as I mentioned, it's about AI, but not as you know it, right? Can AI be creative? I don't know. Can it take your jobs? Apparently it can. And have you ever tried to make a viral video? Well, all these answers, all these questions are going to be answered, I'm hoping, by Kerry and by Norton, who are going to discuss everything about AI and all those questions that you were too scared to ask. Over to you guys.
Hey, thanks very much, Jeremy. Thanks very much for inviting us. I always thought that AI was wild, wacky and weird, and then I came onto a digital Taunton event. And hey, the rest is history. Hey, have a good time. So thanks, Jeremy, Shane, and Jackie before us. Myself, Nort's here, and Kerry, my esteemed co-founder, are with you, and we're going to talk about creative AI. As a starting point, before I get into that kind of thing, because there are the common sort of questions that come up on a very general sense is AI a job stealer? Is AI creative? Is AI something I should be scared about? Is it something that will kind of take my role away, or can I use it? What we want to do tonight is kind of debunk some of the kind of myths and kind of show you that AI as a tool isn't really the preserve of big business or corporations or massive brands. You can actually use it at quite a small scale. So if you're a small business, you can use creative AI to do something to stand out. Now, the reason I talk about standing out, I go back to a very famous quote from a very famous advertiser in the 60s called Bill Bernbach, who said something like, if no one notices your advertising, everything else is academic. And that's kind of like where we come from as a business, Tiny Giant, but it also is kind of like where creative AI comes into kind of our world and why we wanted to use it. So if I give you a bit of context, why we think it's important to stand out in a world where there's so much white noise, there's so many people doing the same thing, you have to zig whatever zag. But let me take you very quickly just to give you some sense of who we are. So if I click on that screen there you go. So we're Tiny Giant. That's basically our statement that we take to the world. That's our elevator statement, which I won't read out, but it kind of self-selects because the nature of what we do, we try to do creativity with brands, with businesses, with agencies. We try to do things that are kind of left field and out there very deliberately, because we believe that if you want to get attention, you have to be left field and out there. So the very notion of like wanting to do that takes a certain degree of bravery, and the notion of being pioneering, that, you know, not everyone is cut out to be a pioneer. Many express the desire to do so, but are they really? That's kind of what happens. And so the kind of business we work with want to do that. They want to make that change. They want to stand out. And so we, as myself and Kerry, as co-founders of the business about 20 months or so ago, we both come from a very traditional advertising marketing background as creatives, but we all had always kind of mutually knew each other and knew we had an interest in emerging tech or any kind of platform or something that's different to what people are doing. And so it seemed like an ideal way to explore that, and that's what we've done. So let me show the kind of thing we do. Essentially, this is the 4 arenas that we work in. We do stuff with creative AI. We do stuff with augmented reality, and the relationship between augmented reality and creative AI is kind of there, and we'll touch upon that later. We do lots of content in social media for people, but funnily enough, a lot of that content and the virality that you can create comes from the kind of things you do with emerging tech. So that's the kind of like, that's us rolling up our sleeves, getting stuck in and doing things. But equally, sometimes we're very happy to do workshops for people who are almost what I would call AI curious, insofar as they just want to dip their toe in the water. So we very often go and see people and talk to them and talk them through it, handhold them through the process. The thing about AI as a sort of as a theme, as a topic, is we're going to probably talk for, I don't know, 35 minutes or so tonight. Essentially, though, you could run, I think there was a YouTube series with Robert Downey Jr. that looked at AI, and it went over about 6 episodes. So, you know, it's such a vast topic, and there's so many kind of subsets of what you can do, what you can't do. We're just going to look at creative AI tonight, which is one kind of element of a much bigger environment. But we'll come to that. So I'll go to my next slide. I want to show you something interesting. This goes back to the thought of advertising before we get into the where we think creative AI sits within that world. Is this slide here, which I always brings a smile. So this is something called Sturgeon's Law. Now, Theodore Sturgeon was a science fiction writer in the 50s and 60s. He basically wrote episodes of Star Trek. He did Twilight Zone stuff. And he famously made a prognostication whereby he said that 90% of science fiction writing was crap. And in the way these things get kind of lifted, elevated, paraphrased, Sturgeon's Law became this kind of theory that 90% of everything is crap. Any creative pursuits, whether that's music, whether that's kind of art, whether it's science fiction writing, but also advertising and marketing. It's this notion that 90% of what is created in the world to gain attention doesn't work because it's crap. And I will say, I'll put my hand up here on behalf of both and say we totally buy into that, and that's kind of why we exist, because we're basically there to try and elevate people above the crapness into the great stuff, and that's what we do. Funnily enough, for the sake of topicality, this very week, again, in a bid to become relevant in this kind of digital acceleration that COVID has created, Cannes Lion, in association, I think they're called Walk or WARC. I never know which one to call them. They've basically released a very interesting report that you can go online and read about creative effectiveness, and they've created this effectiveness ladder. Although to my eyes, that doesn't really look like a ladder, but I kind of see the idea. And it's the notion that great creativity is the standout thing in your marketing and advertising can lead you up this ladder to kind of like various steps. So from the bottom, where you might do a successful piece of creative, that becomes an influential idea that kind of delivers. They have all these kind of metrics and parameters. The thing I love about Walk is its strapline is something like, let's save the world from ineffective marketing, which I kind of like, puts a smile on my face. So they do a whole ton of measurements and stuff. And it basically says that great creative, effective creative, a creative that stands out, gets noticed, and puts you in a place where people want to interact with you, want to learn more, want to travel along that sales funnel, is born out of this. And it can have all these things. So you could start at the bottom of the 6, which is influential ideas, going all the way to the top, which is the notion of an enduring icon. So you, for example, could say an example, Coca-Cola is an enduring icon because for all these years it's done that, and it is a staple part of kind of, the cultural language. In the same way, perhaps, that the shorthand, like, I think the top head, something like Specsavers, when people say, oh, should have gone to Specsavers. Well, at one point in time, that was a tagline, wasn't it? But now it's kind of become part of the sort of cultural lexicon that people use when people do something slightly incompetent. The notion of, what goes on tour stays on tour comes from Las Vegas. It was a travel slogan. What goes on in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. But now it's become part of the cultural. Oh, again, it's an enduring icon. And that ultimately is the sort of the peak of creativity, really, and outputs. So our kind of take, and the stuff we're going to walk you through today, is this notion that you kind of can accelerate yourself towards this kind of excellent, outstanding creativity through using emerging technology, in this particular case, AI. And it's not a case of handing over the work to the machine to do the work. You can do that in certain parameters, but when it comes to creativity, we're very, very clear, and we see it from the work we've always done, is that it's actually a collaboration between human and tech. And like I said at the start, we basically want to demonstrate to you that it's pretty much something, it's very democratized rather than being a kind of remote thing that's not for you. We want to show that actually anybody can do it. And we thought the best way to show that was pretty much taking you through some of the things that we've done with kind of small businesses, on small brands that have actually taken the plunge, have been brave and been pioneering, and you can see the kind of effectiveness in that work. So at that point, that's me opening up for it, but I'm going to hand over to Kerry now, who, as we choreograph our way through the next half hour or so, and she's going to take you through a few examples. Over to you, Kerry.
Cool. Hi everyone, so I'm Kerry, as Norton said, co-founder of Tiny Giant, and we just thought we'd take you through some examples, so some of the things that we've done, some of the things that we really like. And as Norton said, we're really focused on human and technology collaboration. So many people are terrified about AI coming along, stealing their jobs. And that was one thing we wanted to be pretty clear on from the beginning, is that actually AI can also be, especially in the creative world, very much a collaborator or a partner for designers and writers and just thinkers and dreamers. So I think if we just go back to the very beginning of Tiny Giant, I think the very first thing that really got us thinking about this was this really great campaign that was done by Nutella over in Italy. And what they decided to do was they wanted to celebrate the uniqueness of the Italian people and also the uniqueness of Nutella. So they wanted to do something a little bit different. And they could have just have done maybe a limited edition label, but they decided instead to use algorithms and AI to do something that was push things a little bit further. So they got some human designers to come up with a range of colours and patterns, something that would fit really nicely with the Nutella brand. And then they used AI to create 7 million unique jars. And there's just a few of them here, but there's 7 million unique ones. What's really interesting here is that this job couldn't have been done without the human designers. So without that knowledge and understanding of colours and brand that the human brought, it wouldn't have been possible for them to look so beautiful. And without AI, they could never have done 7 million packages. The idea of how many designers it would take to create 7 million unique designs it would just be not viable economically. So that's what they did, and it looked beautiful, and it actually resulted in all 7 million jars selling out within less than a month. So a pretty impressive result, and a really beautiful one as well. So this is some of the things that started. And I remember Norton and I both being in respective agencies, and Norton was a creative director. I was heading up a creative team in an agency, and we got together and had a cup of coffee. We were both really frustrated in our current agencies because we're really interested in emerging tech and all the amazing things it could do, but we were frustrated that our agencies weren't going to start using it. And we met for a coffee, and we just sat there and we said, oh, sod it, let's just do it. And we just set up Tiny Giant from that, just like a real passion to go out, do something different, and really see how we could use tech creatively. So one of the first projects we started on was, it all started with a cake, really, was to create some AI cakes. And what we wanted to explore was how AI could be used creatively. So how could we take a neural network and make it do something creatively? So we used a recurrent neural network, and basically what we did was we trained a neural network, or a form of AI, on hundreds and hundreds of cake and muffin recipes until it was able to generate its own recipes. And then we teamed it with a human, so an amazing cake maker in Bristol, who then made some of the cakes for us. So we worked together with her to choose the ones that she thought were most interesting and inspiring, and then she made the cakes. So we had things like Guinness, vanilla and marmalade. We had poached pear and coriander. We had cherry cola, raspberry and coconut. So some really interesting flavors. And this went down really well, and we've served those at a range of places. And it also inspired her as a local cake maker to go out and do something really different, because she had all these recipes and she was saying, I'd never have thought about putting Guinness and marmalade in a cake, but actually it works really well. So it was really nice to see, not just for us to explore how AI could be used creatively, but also to see how it could push creative artisans out of their comfort zone and make them do something different. So that's where it all started. And then we decided to move away from cakes and move into cocktails. So we met someone at an event, and they said, oh, will you do AI cocktails? We think they'll be really amazing. We said, actually, why not? Let's do cocktails. And we created a whole range of cocktails using the same techniques. So we trained a neural network on hundreds and hundreds of cocktail recipes, which was quite a fun thing to do. So we went through a whole bunch of recipes, from really contemporary things to some of the old favorites, and we put all those into the neural network, trained the neural network, and it was able to generate a whole range of amazing recipes. And again, in the human and AI thing, we teamed up with a bar in Bristol, a small sort of co-working space and bar in Clifton in Bristol, and we worked with an amazing mixologist there called Seb, who at first was, when we went to him and said, we'd really love you to work with us on this, he was absolutely terrified. He was saying things like, oh, the AI is going to be loads better than me. I just don't know if I can do this. And I remember sitting down, we were just about to have it was really awkward, just about to have the BBC to come over and film the whole process, and he was freaking out in the corner, and we were just like, it's okay, Sam, it's gonna be fine. It's all about using your own creativity as a human and applying that to the recipes that we've generated. And he made some absolute crackers, which are here. The green one there is it's a courgette, sour cherry and champagne cocktail. And what the human brings to the mix is the fact that he knew what kind of quantities to use. So rather than just throwing a courgette in a cocktail, he made a tincture from it and just made this amazing cocktail there. And our cocktails, which we made as a bit of a collaboration with the bar there in Clifton, turned into a much bigger thing. So we put it up on a website called aicocktails.com, and it's got a load of traction, and we've ended up selling a range of packages to a whole bunch of people, from Deloitte over in America through to the Austrian Patent Office, who've served them up at events, normally tech events, because they felt it was a really nice way to make AI much more tangible, because people can actually hold it and see what kind of thing it can do. It's also a really great conversation starter. So this was the gig at the Austrian Patent Office, and on this one we used the neural network to create the ultimate cocktail for their delegates. We used a questionnaire to gather all of their likes and dislikes, all the things that they loved, and then from that data we created the ideal data set that could then generate cocktails that we knew that they would like, or that really fitted in with their tastes. And this is it here. It's served on top of this beautiful mountain in Austria. Sadly, Norton and I didn't get to go long, but that's it there. And yeah, we also have worked with Deloitte a couple of times. They've served them up at big sort of tech events. We've done smaller events as well. We've done little local festivals and all sorts. So it's been a really fun project. So that's kind of where we began, and then that's helped us to go off in loads of new and exciting directions. So I'm going to pass over to Norton, who's going to talk about AI writing.
Thanks very much, Kerry. Okay, so again, you literally could create a 10-episode Netflix documentary on AI writing if you wanted to, and maybe one day that will be a thing, to take on Tiger King. But in this case, I just want to show a couple of very quick examples, because I say one of the things about creative AI and what goes on in the world is the speed of change. A classic case would be that when we probably started our business, which was October 2018, you could probably see businesses that were using machine learning to write subject lines. Maybe that was a possibility, and could write them at scale. So, rather than getting a writer subjectively think about 10 good subject lines for your email, you could use a machine that could basically create thousands, and then it would work out what's what. And that seemed to be the scope of it. And people would come to us and think, oh, I'm a copywriter. Do you think AI is ever going to be in the sort of realm where it's going to be really useful to me and actually write in a nuanced human way? And at that point, we probably went, yeah, well, you probably got 5 years to think about it. It'll catch up, but not yet. But then there was a real game changer. Very early 2019, there's a company called OpenAI, which is basically a research development company based in San Francisco. There's a little bit of Elon Musk money, but he's not putting it into a gigafactory near Bridgewater. He puts it into this business. Technically, it exists generally to ensure that artificial intelligence develops for the benefit of all humanity. And it's quite an interesting place to go and check out OpenAI, because they basically release a lot of tools onto the world that are kind of amazing. One of those was a particular tool called GPT. First there was GPT-1, then there was GPT-2, which really caught attention, and there's now, believe it or not, GPT-3, quite hard to say. But essentially, that was a neural network that had a massive parameter of kind of data behind it. Essentially, when you work with machine learning, all it's doing, it's predicting. But if you've got a massive data behind it, you can predict very well. The thing's trying to predict now what word comes next, or what character comes next, or what theme. But the beauty of GPT-2 as a thing is that you basically can write in a style, and because it has this vast database behind it, it can adopt that style. So it won't necessarily try and predict the exact thing that you've written. If you're copying something, for example, it will basically fill in the next thing, and it's an amazing thing. Now you can go to a website called talktotransformer.com and you can try it out, and it is amazing. Like I say, a few months back you'd have said AI was writing like a drunken sailor, but now it writes like a pro. If you want to write, if you want to write Dickens, you get Dickens. If you want to write, kind of what I have sort of thing to say, JD Salinger, you get JD Salinger. It's a kind of amazing thing, but it doesn't write the person; it writes in the style, and it's again, going back to what Kerry said, it's a really good jumping off point for creatives to kind of get ideas. It takes you to places perhaps you wouldn't go. A classic case in point, if you again want to see it in action, is to go to this amazing site, which is called AI Dungeon. It was set up by an American developer called Nick Walton. And essentially what he's done is he's used the GPT model to create an infinite number of adventure games. And you basically type in, gives you a role, and you start typing, and it comes out a scene, and then you type the next thing, and it comes out, and it basically goes on to ad infinitum. And it's just an amazing thing, because it just takes you wild, crazy places. Again, it's a really lovely creative stimulus. Now, you might say, well, how can I use that in a way? And funny enough, I was looking at examples of people who've used it. I don't know if you know of Yogscast, who are the sort of gaming podcasters in Bristol. I saw earlier this year they did a episode of on their podcast where they basically played AI Dungeon, and that really was the concept. But they played it, and I think they ended up with like 20 million views on that particular episode, or not their podcast, on their vlog on YouTube. And so it's just one of these things. It's an amazing jumping off point for creativity. So I really encourage you to try out talktotransformer.com, because it really gives you a window to see how good AI writing is. The amazing thing is GPT-3 now exists, and by all accounts, that's even better. Now, what does that translate to the commercial world? What does that actually mean in the world of advertising and marketing? So last year, because somebody was always going to do it, weren't they, for the PR, the first. There had been various attempts at doing AI things, and I'm not sure that Lexus really did the world's first AI ad, because it had kind of been done a couple of years earlier in Japan. But like they say, history is written by the winners. But Lexus basically created a AI written ad, which they made into a big TV commercial. And the way they did it was essentially they took 10 years worth of Cannes award-winning scripts. They took 15 years of Cannes award-winning scripts, 10 years of scripts from really high luxury brand advertising that had been very award-winning, not necessarily Cannes, but they just put this into a neural network, trained it. They also involved a rather mysterious company quite a good name for a company called MindX, that apparently applied a whole ton of data into this neural network on the subject of intuition, because that was the theme they wanted to get over in the particular launch of this car. It was about the intuitive nature of the vehicle, and then they basically let it write a script. Now, what we always say is that the process isn't okay. You hand over the steering wheel to the AI, and that's the work. It's about the collaboration. But when you read the actual stories of this, and you have to take a certain amount of pinch of salt or not, you take it as you want to take it. But what's quite surprising is they said that probably 90% of what came out is they actually took it. That was what they actually created in the end, and to the point where actually the AI was writing the footnotes on the scripts. I think there was only a couple of changes. The color of the car they changed, all sorts of very subtle things. They even got in a guy called Kevin McDonald, who's Oscar-winning filmmaker from Last King of Scott. So he made it, and again, I would search it and go look for it, because generally speaking, is it an ad that's going to win awards? Probably not. But is it an ad that kind of puts a flag in the ground and says this is the future, this collaboration between machine and humans to create something a bit different, something that you wouldn't necessarily think of? Absolutely, definitely. So yeah, there's a real rich seam of opportunity and creativity with AI and writing. And to be honest, the whole thing is only just getting started. Over to you, Kerry.
Cool. So back to another project that we did last year. And this was creating an AI festival curator for the Taunton Science Festival. So we got a little note through our website, and we were very excited about this because the coordinator of the Taunton Science Festival had seen our AI cocktails, and she phoned us up and she said, we'd really like to do something a little bit different at our festival this year, and with something with AI as a form of education, but also I'm really interested in, do you think you could do an AI curator? And there's a lot of things that we do, and this is what stuff about we talk about bravery, is that we said, yeah, we can do that, and we had a good go, and it turned out very well, and it's a project that we're really proud of and very excited about sharing. So we created the first ever festival curator. This is her. So our AI in this sense was a neural network, so the same kind of thing that we use for the cocktails and cakes. But we had to give our curator a look as well and a bit of a personality, because every year at the Taunton Science Festival, they have human curators as well. And there's going to be 3 that year. So there's going to be 2 human curators and our AI guest curator. And so we needed to give her a personality and a look. We called her Ada after Ada Lovelace, the first, person who created the first algorithm. And this is her. And we gave her a sort of Ada Lovelace look, but with a modern day twist. And this was the illustrator that created it. So what did Ada deliver? So in terms of what we created for the festival is that we trained a neural network on every single talk ever delivered at the Taunton Science Festival, which was 12 years worth of talks. And Norton and I sat down one weekend and literally pulled out every single talk ever delivered from a range of PDFs and also from actual proper brochures, and put it all into a document. And then we use that then to train the neural network. And then the neural network is able to generate a range of talk suggestions for the festival. So we got so many different talk suggestions, and we went to Cheltenham Science Festival with 12 of them. I'll show you a few things that came out. They are a little bit wonky, and some are quite funny too. So here are a few that we had. We had things like, we really liked Big Tree from the Wang, whatever that means. The Perfume Green on Mystery was really fun. And you can see how in a lot of these talks, you can see how some things have been, there's been talks about mental health, there's been talks about aliens. I'm not sure about Big Tree from the Wang and where that came from, but those are the kind of talks that came out. And we really liked the 3D dog workshop. Unfortunately, they didn't go with that. But they couldn't decide which ones. They loved them all, and we ended up putting it out on a public vote on Twitter, and Introvert Narwhals was the chosen talk. And that talk was delivered at the Taunton Science Festival by a human. So we got a natural history presenter to come and talk about whether narwhals were introvert or not. We had no idea if they were introvert. It turned out that they were quite shy, so it kind of worked out all right. And we also did a little talk around AI and how it affects our culture. So it turned into this whole big event. And then on the subject of AI and writing, which Norton was done, we also used Ada and the neural networks to generate a forward for the brochure as well. So as I said, Ada had to sit alongside 2 human curators. And we trained the neural network again on all of the forwards ever created at the festival, and then used a little bit of our writing skills to sort of pull it all together. So again, it was slightly offbeat, but really nice and a really interesting way to show how AI and humans can collaborate to do something really interesting. So it worked really well. The event sold out. We pulled in a lot of people. It got featured in a range of blogs, got featured on the TV. We even went into the radio studios for BBC, and gave Ada a voice so that we could get her out on the radio as well. So lots of PR and publicity. And because Taunton Science Festival is a charity, we did it on a really minimal budget as well. So we were really proud and excited the fact that we just managed to make it all work with the budget that we've been given as well. And even better, we managed to get a DMA award, which is a pretty prestigious award in the advertising industry, and we got a gold for the best use of AI. We were the only representative from the Southwest, and we were probably the only startup sat in that room with all those people. So it was a great thing for us as a small startup, and also really great for the Taunton Science Festival. What's even more exciting is that this year Ada has been back again. So Ada did another range of talk suggestions for this year, and one of them was chosen, but they then had to cancel the Taunton Science Festival because of COVID-19. And then they got thinking about what they could do, because they didn't really want to cancel the event because it's so big for them, and it's an incredible event. So they decided to take it online and make it a virtual event. And they phoned us up and said, would it be okay if Ada was almost headed up the festival? She was the face of the festival. So we did a lot of work with them this year as well, creating lots of videos, and we did some nice idents and brought Ada back. Slightly different hairdo this year, but there she is, sat on the sofa, and she featured quite heavily in the event. So that's the story of Ada and the Taunton Science Festival. And again, that's gone down really well this year, which has been really nice to see. So after that, we went back into the world of drinks, and we've worked with a local distillery in Bristol called Psychopomp and Circumstance to create a gin. And Psychopomp and Circumstance are quite experimental. They're really keen to do something different. They are definitely one of the pioneers that Norton mentioned earlier. And we used AI in similar ways that we had done before, but we tried to also look at how we could use it more from a branding point of view as well. So we actually used AI, first of all, to name the product. We trained it on hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of gin names, but also beer names as well, because some really interesting beer names out there. So we put all those in. We got hundreds and hundreds of names. We chose the ones that we thought were most interesting. And here are a few of them. And then they decided to go in the end for Moncker's Gargle, because they felt that it was a little bit offbeat, but they liked the way that it sounded, and said, it sounds like a gin name, but it's just not quite 100% there. So it's a little bit wonky, but it sounds really nice. So that was the name of the product. We also used the neural networks in the same way that we did with the cocktails. So we trained it on thousands of botanicals and created a range of recipes, which were then taken by Psychopomp, who then developed them and chose the best ones. They chose 2 that they really liked, and then worked up 2 to a certain stage, and then decided to use one of them to put in the bottles. We also explored branding as well, which was a new thing for us, and also really interesting. And again, it was a little bit like the Nutella stuff that we talked about earlier. We got a really great artist in Bristol, and we asked if he could give us a range of textures and colours, sort of scribbles and backgrounds, and he gave us those. We put those into an algorithm, which then allowed us to create literally a design for a label at the touch of a button. So you can literally press a button and there's a new design ready for the bottle. This was the one they went with, but we had lots of other designs along the way. So there's just a few the different ones here. Some of them are slightly offbeat. Some of them look really cool. And so that's the one they chose, and that was a really nice sort of project for us to explore that. We wanted them to go with the Nutella idea, so ideally we said, oh, it'd be amazing if you could do a different label on every single bottle, but they said they hadn't quite got the budget for that, so we just did one. And this is Monka Sparkle here, so it was on sale, it's still on sale, and really interestingly and great for them because they're a small local brewery. It obviously went everywhere. It was the world's first AI gin, and it literally went, I think it was, I can't remember if you remember notes, but how many continents it went on in the first week, something like. So it was pretty huge, and we got it featured in loads of things, which was really great for them. So that was the gin. And then in terms of the branding then, because that led us down the whole branding route, and what we were really interested about was the fact you could take a whole bunch of assets and then literally press a button and a new design would be created. And we really like sort of exploring that idea. So we've just done a whole big branding project, and we've literally just finished this, and it's literally just gone live, which is really, really great. And we loved working on this. It's with a company in London called Discover AI, and they are a startup research company that are using AI to help speed up the research process. And we created a range of territories or sort of brand designs for them. And this was the one they went with, which was all around using AI to create some really nice sort of hero imagery and a look and feel for them. What we did to create this sort of look and feel was to, again, like with the gin, was to get to work with a designer who we created a range of AI backgrounds, which is the black and white version you can see there. We had a range of colours, we used photography, and we used a range of textures. So you can see there's a kind of a rip. And we put those all into the algorithm. And then again, you could literally just press a button and a new design would be generated. The great thing about this was because, again, they didn't have a massive budget, they couldn't go and do a photo shoot. We could just use free images. So all of the images that went into the algorithm were from Unsplash or Pexels, which are both free image sites. But because you've got the AI backgrounds and the textures and the colors, it just made it all look really, really interesting and very different. So again, these are just some of them that came out. But I remember the designer, when she'd given us all the stuff and we were playing around with the tech, and she was just like, I can just keep pressing the button and there'll be a new one. And we were like, yeah, you just keep going. So this is what it looked like. And then in terms of how it's translated into actual design work, this is the front cover of their design guidelines. So we created a range of design guidelines for them. We also worked with them in terms of their copy and the way that they sound, because they're a very bold and pioneering company. So we made sure that their tone of voice was spot on and sounded really good and sounded very sort of brave and pioneering, but also very switched on. So we did the guidelines, and then this is the sort of hero imagery that they use on their website. So it's really striking. And again, their budget wasn't massive because they're a startup. And, we, as Norton was saying earlier, is sometimes people think that AI is just for massive brands who can, huge corporations that can afford to do that. But I think from a creative point of view, you can often, as we've shown, you can play around with things and just do something very different, and you don't have to, have an absolutely massive budget. So that was Discover AI. And then we've played around a lot in the AI space, which has been lovely. And we are also now exploring the world of augmented reality. And this is something we probably started playing around with about a year ago, with some AR filters and lenses, which we have used on Instagram and Snapchat. But I'll get Norton to talk you through, because it's another one of those areas there's so many creative opportunities in the space, and people are starting to turn more to augmented reality now as well, because there's just lots of things you can do in terms of engagement and bringing experiences into people's hands and in their phones. So I'll pass them to Norton.
Thanks very much, Kerry Harrison. Look, I'm meaning business now because I've took my hat off, other than the fact that my head temperature was probably 4,000 degrees. We're going to talk very quickly. I'm going to touch on augmented reality. There is a relationship between augmented reality and AI. There is a lot of machine learning that goes on in augmented reality to actually create the things behind the scenes. But one of the wonderful things that happened in the kind of probably the pioneer of augmented reality on mobile, which is Snapchat. I hold my phone up there because they basically the whole kind of platform of Snapchat is built around a camera, and that's what kind of puts them at the front, because everything they do is about what goes on in that camera and all the kind of shareability and that. They kind of lead the way in all this. Is that very recently they had a summit, and they basically now brought machine learning models into the lenses, so you can actually do a lot of really, really cool stuff using machine learning kind of neural networks in the background, convolutional neural networks, to bring your work into the lens, to actually bring it to life. Now that's kind of nice, but what I think we wanted to kind of just show you again from this notion that anybody can kind of do it, practicality. There are lots of things you can use AR for that are actually very, very practical. And I'm just going to fight through a few examples around the world that do that. But of course, it would be remiss of me not to use something that we've done recently, which we did for the BBC probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. We finished it. Essentially, it was to promote a show on the BBC, which is on now on Saturday nights, with Peter Crouch, Saving Our Summer, with various guests, and Maya Jama. And they basically came to us and said, could we create this filter that used Peter Crouch as the kind of hero figure, because there he is in the shot. But the idea was the fact that Peter Crouch is 2 meters tall. He's actually 2 meters and 1 centimeter, but the whole 2 meter thing, social distancing, could we do something with it on the phone whereby people could use that lens to either socially distance themselves with a Peter Crouch, or you could actually invert him to be a cardboard cutout, like a friend in your home while the show's on, and you could do all sorts of cool selfie stuff. So we kind of did that, and so it did the job. It went out on Snapchat with the BBC, so it does a double fold job. You use it as a promotional device, but you also use it as a kind of fun interactive tool that kind of works, and the story works well behind it because of the 2 meter thing. So that's the kind of an interesting, fun, engaging way to do it. But what other ways might there be? Well, if we look at somebody like, say, Warby Parker in America, their online spectacles company, about 10 years old, real pioneer in the digital space. Well, obviously, if they sell glasses to people online, one of the issues is you want to try the things on. You can't try them on because there aren't any shops to go to. So what do? You use the AR tool that they have on their site to try the spectacles that you want. Again, beautifully seamless, very frictionless. You try the glasses on, you like the ones you want, you get your order, Warby Parker comes to you. A really beautiful, simple, effective way how to use it in terms of using it to try on a product. Amazing thing, right? Who else might do it? Now, remember at the top I talked about icons. Of course they'd be involved. IKEA, of course, do it. You want to see something in place? They have a app called IKEA Place, funnily enough. And of course, you in your space, you want to see what that particular IKEA chair or that IKEA Billy bookshelf looks like, whatever. You basically use the app, you put it up, you place it in position, you can see it. You can take a photo, you can share it. So you've got all that wonderful digital frictionlessness through a piece of AR there. Very realistic. It's all scale to size. It works beautifully. So anybody can kind of do that sort of thing. It's very, very democratized technology to put it. So if you have stuff that you sell, that are physical things, you can show it in people's worlds. That could be flooring, that could be any kind of thing that you do that, right? Another example whereby how you might use it, this is about looking at products in detail. This is Mulberry. They're using web AR as opposed to a filter or lens through a platform such as Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat. They use something called Eighth Wall as their platform. So this basically goes through on a browser on your mobile phone or online, but it's essentially through the phone without going through an app. And again, you can see that luxury good, people want to look at the thing. They can't necessarily access the store, but they can get and see the bag there in beautiful 3D detail. And the level of detail you can create these days is kind of amazing. And you can do all this sort of thing, get it right up close to look at the product. And then obviously that can take you through transactionally to do what you want to do, because it's a digital space. And then another thing that we were messing around with literally in the last week, essentially you can do something with AR called target marking, whereby you can use a brand or a shape or a color or just any kind of thing that you can, the phone can identify. Again, a little bit of machine learning in the background identifies it, locks in on it. And then you can create a kind of filter on top of it. You can place something on that world. So, for example, you could bring a business card to life by basically using AR on top of it to tell more of a story. You can use it on product stuff to bring up, on a bottle, you can bring up recipes, cocktail recipes, etc. But this particular one, I'll just show you, it's just a case. This is what's sparking it. This is an Oyster card. And you say you're in London and you're a tourist and you want to know to get on the tube, you've got your Oyster card. You can essentially do this sort of thing, whereby you hold the Oyster card out, you hold your phone up to it, up comes a map, and you can determine your journey. Now, that's the Oyster card. You can do that with any kind of flat surface, slightly curved. You can just do amazing things with AR that kind of like gives you information in a kind of instant. So that's a very quick run through AR. It's a space that we are really, really enjoying working in. And we basically have thought over the last year we started in it, and we've already seen this year, I think, Rico, that the sort of demand and the interest in that space has sort of grown quite a lot in the last 4 or 5 months. I do think there's something about the whole thing of lockdown and inaccessibility and this whole digital acceleration, which has made it more prevalent. But again, I want to sort of stress that it's not something that's inaccessible to businesses, because actually the costs aren't really prohibitive at all. So that's kind of like our romp through that area so far. We've talked about being pioneering and brave and standing out, and I'll leave it to my esteemed co-founder Kerry to kind of wrap up with a final few words, if that's all right. Over to you, Kerry.
Yeah, so hopefully we've given you a bit of a, as Norton said, a bit of a tour of how
romp,
tech,
hasn't it? Been a romp.
How humans and tech can work together to do really different, interesting things. And I guess going back to the quote, well, Norton gave us a quote earlier. This is one that I really like. So nothing wonderful will ever happen to you if you don't take a risk. And this is Scott Galloway, who's an amazing marketing professor. And I think that is pretty much sums up the kind of attitude that we have as well. And in terms of standing out, I guess we were just trying to think of a few rules for standing out and some of the things that we think are important. So it was about, really, to stand out, you do need to be a little bit courageous. It's about not just following the herd. It's about looking around and seeing what other people are doing, but maybe outside of your own space. So rather than just saying, okay, so what's my competitors doing? Maybe have a look at your problem and how someone outside of your area or your sector even are solving those problems. And also maybe just do something different and give it a go. What we always say to clients, because a lot of people come to us and say, we're a bit nervous because we've not done AI or AR before. And what we always say is start small and test. So you don't have to have a ginormous AI campaign or, do a whole like a big massive AR thing. You can just start with a small filter, or you can, just do a naming project, for example. So start small and test and see what works. And then you can always add to it and, build on it if and when it starts working. And also check the tech. We say this, it's important that just because there is so much exciting tech out there, things are changing all the time. I mean, we're obviously in this AI and AR space, but just every few weeks there's something else that's coming out. There's new platforms emerging, and it is really exciting. And it's a really nice way to, again, just augment your own creative abilities and do something that you wouldn't be able to do without it. I mean, going back to that Nutella campaign, for example, if AI wasn't used there's no way that project would ever have got off the ground, because it wouldn't have been viable economically to create that many labels. And that's the thing, that technology is making it easy for us now to do completely different things and to engage with audiences in new ways and almost immerse them in new experiences and just to explore in whole new ways as well. So so check the tech, do something small and just test it, and just be creatively courageous. In terms of working with us, so one of the things we've introduced actually during the lockdown is something called a creative bravery check. And this is a very sort of quick check that we do on people's creative work. So if there's a project that you're working on, if you've got a campaign that's run but it hasn't really got the results you wanted, we will have a look at your work. So maybe 3 pieces of work that you've done, or a specific campaign, and we'll really look at how your brand is working, some of the rules and sort of process that you're using within your organization. We'll look at technology to see how you can stretch your thinking. We'll look at your tone of voice and make sure you're sounding consistent and bold across everything that you're saying. And also just looking at how your teams are working together and some of the things that you do in your workspaces to really sort of promote creativity. And then once we've done that, we create a report which is got lots of tips and sort of actionable steps that you can use to help cultivate creativity in your business and also stand out in your sector. And I think one of the key things here as well is also to look at your sort of key problem at the moment and say how potentially technology might be able to help you to do something better, or to step outside of your comfort zone and just deliver a campaign that you wouldn't normally do. So I think it's really complicated right now because there is so much tech and things are changing so quickly. It's often knowing what tech to use and when to use it, but also whether to use it at all, because sometimes people come to us and say, we want to use AI, but we always say, but why? What's your problem? What is it that you want to solve? And we'll tell you then if, it might be that AI will be the perfect solution, but it might be that maybe AR is better, or it might be that just a really great idea and a beautifully executed social media campaign will actually fit the job better. So for us, it's also about that. So it's looking at your specific creative challenges and working out if tech can help you, then we tell you what tech could help you and how you could really push your thinking, stretch your thinking. But also if it maybe just that social media or some elements of social media would be much better and solve your problem really well. So we are really honest, and that's one thing we've always said, that we just give you a no BS kind of approach. We're pretty straight. We just say things like they are, and we just want to solve people's problems and sort out their challenges. And we will say, yes, AI might be perfect, but if it's not, we'll just tell you that as well. So we're all about
shit free, Kerry, aren't we?
Shit free. So we're all about solving a problem as opposed to kind of throwing the tech at you. And we've always thought that was really important. So another thing that we do is, and we've talked about the workshops, is that we're also really keen to educate and share and get people as excited as us about all this new tech and AI and AR and just all the things that are happening in the space. So every month we run an event called I'll Be Back Southwest, and this is an event exploring the intersection between creativity, advertising and AI. And we said AI, and I guess it started as AI, but we're now sort of looking at a wider sort of emerging tech space. And it's when it was live, so it's a bit like Digital Taunton. When it was live, we had a really lovely community. About 100 or so people would come every month, and it was lovely. And we had these real solid people that came. So we've got this really nice whole bunch of people. But we've actually taken it virtual. We made it virtual. We've taken it online. We've got another one coming up, and we try and make it fun. So we have two guests. I normally do a little rant. Norton does his normal stuff. We even had a goat online who's come on and joined the Zoom call. So we try and make it a fun event as well as something that's inspiring and interesting.
It put us on Japanese TV, didn't it?
It did, actually. Yeah,
that was a very strange turn of events, wasn't it?
It was. So I'll Be Back is educational but inspiring and also quite good fun. That's important to us. If you have liked what you've seen and want to know more, you can obviously go onto our website, tinygiant.io. You can find out more about our workshops on there, as well as our creative health check. And you can also join our WhatsApp group, which anything that we find or anything that we love, we put on there. We've also got quite a lot of avid followers who do the same. So it's a really good place to sort of keep up to date with what's going on. And it's even been, sort of job offers and all sorts of stuff on there. So it's a really nice mix.
There was a debate today, Kerry. I don't know if you saw it. There was a debate about AI toothbrushes. Some of it I didn't really understand.
There are often debates, aren't there? It's quite it's a good place to debate. So feel free to that. If you missed the slide, then just get in touch with Nort's through tinygiant.io or call Nort's number, which is above his head, and we will set you up on there. So that's us, bit of a whistle-stop tour. We are Tiny Giant. Thank you very much for having us. Thanks, guys, for having us at Digital Taunton. It's been a real honour and a pleasure. So
blast.
Thank you very much.
That's absolutely fantastic.
I'm going to say it was very muted applause there, Shane.
Shall I bump it up?
Bump it up.
Let's do this. and some laughs, and we'll do all kinds.
It's carnage.
I'm going to get carried away with this, aren't I? Okay, brilliant. Thank you ever so much, and pass you back to Jeremy now. He's muted.
Yeah. Hello.
You done it. You done it.
No. You muted me, mate. You muted me. I didn't want to touch anything on my launchpad, right? Because if I press anything on my laptop, I don't know, my camera is going to fall off and the lights are going to fall down and the green screen's going to come down.
We don't want to break anything.
So listen, guys. I feel super pumped and excited about AI. I'm just really, really pumped up. But I want to talk to you guys. We've got some questions. Jackie, we've got some questions for you as well in a bit that have come in. I just want to remind people of the phone number very quickly. It's 07956 133 913. Can't promise you a pizza, but do call in if you want or type in any questions. So it looks like, oh man, Shane, we missed out, right? Because these guys were coming to speak. And I remember, Nort, you mentioned something about providing AI cakes, right? And now I get it. So we missed out big time. Also, I'm getting a bit of a flavor with you guys. Like, so Nutella, cakes, cocktail, gin. I think there's something going on there. But no, that was really fascinating.
Should we jump over to some questions? We've got.
Jump over
We've got a caller coming in.
Okay,
we've got a caller coming in.
Go.
Hang on a minute.
Go.
Hello, caller.
Hi, it's James here. How you doing?
Hey, James. Good to see you. Hear you. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thanks.
And what question have you got?
Okay, just a prediction from you and Kerry. When do you think the Turing test will be passed?
Oof, that's a. When will it be passed? I personally, I'm not sweating. I won't be alive when it happens. That's my punt.
Okay, and second, just a point of information for you. If you were to have a night out with your AI cocktails in Taunton, there's a lot of pent-up demand for a big night out among me and many of my colleagues in Taunton. So,
well, the beauty of the whole cocktail thing is that it's not just a case of you can just make them by assortment. You can do lots of, because it is essentially a data predictive thing, much like Kerry talked about the Austrian one. You can basically kind of shape the experience to the audience. So, it's always the opportunity is always there.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Thank you very much, James, for calling.
Thank you very much, James, for calling. This is fun.
It's like a radio show.
This is awesome.
Excellent.
Is there any more callers that want to just jump in now before Jeremy reads out questions that we've got from the comments? Any callers? It's hard to gauge if a caller.
It would be awful.
Okay. Sorry, Nors.
No, I was going to say it'd be awful if the Turing test was passed next year and my prediction is saying I won't be alive. That bodes a very depressing 2024.
That will be quite unfortunate.
All right, so
that's not a prediction.
I've got some questions here. If we get any more calls, we can pause them.
Oh, I love the call. Oh, one more call. Don't we want call?
Yeah. Well, we're going to get some calls. It
kind of fits in with my thing, doesn't it?
Really? Yeah, it really does. It fits really well.
Late night chat.
Yeah, but don't call Norts right now. Call Shane because it won't come through. Anyway, so Jenny wants to know. She'd be really interested to know how long it takes to train the AI, and is there a minimum amount of data you need to use?
It depends, really. It's one of those questions. It can take. The more you train it, the better the results. So you can get an output relatively quickly, probably in an hour, 2 hours, but it won't be great. So in terms of the cocktails, it's probably a day's worth of training, if not a little bit more. But the more you put in, the better the output. So you can with the Taunton Science Festival, and I know it sounds like a lot, but we only had 12 years worth of talks. So it wasn't like we had thousands and thousands of talks, and we still got a relatively good output from that. So you can start quite small. I'm trying to think, the gym botanicals, we had 1,000 of those. So it's not massive, but yeah, the more you've got, the clearer and the more, I suppose, interesting the output will be. So yeah. Kind of how long's a piece of string, I guess.
But you're getting tangible results after maybe just a day, you're saying?
Yeah. It depends what it is. So because in terms of recipes, if you think about how a recipe is created, it's quite formulaic in that everything's sort of stacked up, in a line. If you're doing more prose, so we've done things like poetry, or if you're doing longer paragraphs, it would take longer because you need to have. There's less of a kind of structure to the way that everything's laid out. So if with a recipe, every recipe in a way looks the same. So it's you can get to that predictions, or you can understand a prediction quicker. So therefore it can get the result quicker. But if you're putting in big chunks of text, it would take a lot longer.
Excellent, thank you. So Ben has written in and he wants to know what would you really want to apply AI technology to? that you haven't had the chance to yet?
We often do a slide at the end. We're really keen to do AI graffiti. There's so much you can do creatively. We'd love to do pizza, actually. Now you said pizza. AI graffiti we'd love to do, because we think that we'd really like to move into using it more from a visual point of view. So a lot of the stuff we've done so far is text-based, but actually to train a neural network, which would obviously take a lot longer, but to train a neural network on hundreds and hundreds of beautiful pieces of street art until it was able to generate its own, and then working with a range of graffiti artists to then actually spray that up onto some walls. And we've been love to do something with Upfest, which is based in Bristol, on that. But yeah, there's so much you can do. We're always coming up with things. Or we could do AI this and AI that. But graffiti, I think, would be lovely. It'd be really nice to do something visually with something. Because we also talked about doing like dresses or something, like wedding dresses. So something that got like a very sort of strict theme, but are all slightly different. You could just train a neural network on hundreds and hundreds of wedding dresses, and then it would generate its own kind of look of one, and then work with someone to make it. So yeah, we've got lots of thoughts and ideas. But
yeah, AI fashion is definitely an arena. The whole kind of intersection of AI fashion, digital fashion, AR, they all sit together beautifully in the space. We did a thing right at the start of the pandemic. We did an AI Grand National, where we basically created a whole bunch of horses with AI names, and then we did the whole thing. We did the draw. People entered it, and we ran the race on an Alexa skill, and we raised money for the NHS. So that was fun, and it got us thinking about doing an AI Euro Championship, where we'd actually have all the and we'd basically play the thing with all AI players. And we've been so busy, we didn't get around to it. And I think, but now the kind of Premier League took off in reality, because you thought that space wasn't going to be there. It's one of those things to park on the side. But there are literally an infinite number of things that we'd like to do. I will say one that we had a conversation right at the start of our relationship with the BBC, where the guy who first met us and talked about working with us had this idea for comic relief, where he wanted us to take a whole bunch of EastEnders scripts and write an EastEnders AI episode.
Yeah.
And it was going to be like a 5-minute segment, and it's sort of that conversation, this sort of part. But yeah, that's the sort of thing. That's kind of fun.
I bet that'd be actually better than proper EastEnders, wouldn't it?
It would probably make more sense.
I think you should do an AI Eurovision Song Contest. I think that.
Well, funny enough, Jackie, only about a month and a half ago, there was an AI Eurovision Song Contest.
Oh, well, there you are.
And surprisingly, the UK's entry did actually manage to get some points. It actually came fifth, but it was actually won. It was won by the Australian entry. Actually, it was quite good. It was a pretty good tune. But also, part of the whole aesthetic of the Australian entry was their kind of look and feel, because they took that whole kind of Daft Punk thing as well, of being like, are they cyborgs? Are they humans? So yeah, that you can go online, you can check it out. The AI Eurovision Song Contest.
Yeah.
I think we were a bit gutted because we found about it after it had happened. We were like,
yeah, we did. Yeah,
that's just how it is. It's such a rich field to play in. But the point I think we want to say is that pretty much anybody can play in it.
So I've got one question for you before we go into a couple of questions to finish off for Jackie, and it's based on my own business, really. So you've kind of talked about some really wacky, really fun, really wild and creative ideas, right? But hey, man, I work in the insurance industry. Okay, now, admittedly, I like to look at doing things differently, and I like to think we're insurtech more than just claims. But we're predominantly B2B, business to business, not B2C. Can your creative ideas, can they still be creative without being overly quirky, or do they kind of need to be, is there a place for this sort of like corporate B2B stuff with, what you're doing?
Who wants to go?
Well, hopefully.
Do you want to go, Nort? I don't mind.
You go, Kerry.
I would say there is. I think because we are interested, I guess at the minute, because it's so new, we're already interested in how it can really push creatively. We have explored more creative avenues, which I suppose is why we've gone down food and drink, fashion, BBC, that kind of thing. But I think you could with anything. I just think it depends, again, going back to what I said in the presentation, it depends on what your challenges are, and that's where we always start, because we do get people who come to us and say, we just want to look cool, can you do something with AI? And we always ask the same question, what's your problem, what's your challenge? And then if you come to us for that, then we can obviously say, well, maybe an AR filter would work, or maybe this would work, or maybe I would work, or maybe none of it's really going to solve your problem. You just maybe do something really great on social media. And so I would say, yeah, I think anything's possible. I'd hope so. It's just if you came with a challenge, then we'd have a look at it and see what we could do for you.
Would you say, Jeremy, that your sector that you work in and your competitors, would you say that their marketing is boring and predictable and vanilla and samey?
Yeah, and I'd probably include ours in that, not just our competitors. I think it's pretty similar. However, I must tell you, right, claims handling rocks. Right.
There's no reason why at the end of the day, any kind of advert, whether it's B2C or any kind of marketing, B2C or B2B, is ultimately messages from humans to other humans. Yeah. So the ability to create some emotion in the recipient is what you're trying to do. And most business, because we go back to that contention that 90% of advertising and marketing is crap, doesn't do that. It comes up short because it's almost, I don't know if they'll like that. And it's like, well, try it, because if you do provoke a response, if you do take that risk, if you're willing, greatness comes from it. So I would say to you, Jeremy, if you think you're in by a self-admission that your marketing is a bit boring, you should try and make it unboring, because the benefits for you would be amazing.
Hold on, I need to just put that out there, right? We have amazing support and someone really amazing in our business that does the PR. So it's not the people, it's the surroundings, right? So because I know Ruth's a great big fan of digital Taunton. She might isn't about
digging a hole for himself now.
It's about the surrounding areas, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
yeah,
completely. So I'm saying, like you say insurance in America. What's the brand that kind of has grabbed it? It's Lemonade, isn't it?
Lemonade, yeah. All right,
they take the friction out of it, and it's all that. If you can do that in your process,
Lemonade's cool.
You can ally that to a brilliant branding strategy, and you get your messages out right.
Yeah.
You will stand out, and it doesn't necessarily need AI to do that, and it doesn't necessarily need AR to do it. But it's just that point. If you want to stand out, Jeremy, you have to stand out.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, that's really great. So look, just as we wrap up, a couple of questions for you, Jackie, that came in as the guys were speaking. James is interested to hear what you think the typical high street will look like in 10 years' time.
Well, I think that the typical high street will have a bigger mix. I think COVID has been a bit of a wake-up call for our high streets, and I think there will be social enterprises, community places and spaces. I think that will be, as it was going, more experiential. I think that will be there, but I actually think the shop has come to the fore. I think we were forgetting how important it was to have a local shop, local provenance, local foods, and I think we will see that. I also think that we'll be considering more about climate emergency and the importance of towns. If you think about it, town centres were the original, very eco-friendly way of behaving, and we just need to perhaps get back to that.
No, excellent. No, brilliant answer. And finally, last question we'll give to Mandy Bridge. She's really looking forward to you guys coming to Taunton, or I think you've actually arrived, haven't you?
We haven't started yet.
Okay.
But, we want you to spread the word. Get your favourite businesses on there, because it's free and it will make you able to show your love for them and shop and support them. So
that you may have answered her question. How many businesses have signed up so far in Taunton?
It hasn't officially started. This is a sneak preview by Digital Taunton.
Fantastic. Oh, guys, that's brilliant. Been super excited to have you guys on the show. You've really sort of put the oomph back into Digital Taunton, and it's been a pleasure having you guys on.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it just leaves me to say we're going to be back Thursday, the 30th of July, with the same format, different speakers. We might mix it up. It may be me hosting. It may be Shane. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But it just leaves me to wish you all a very good night. Thanks for tuning in. Be safe, and catch up soon.
Thank you.
I'm doing my end of show wave. Look.
Do my end of show. Shane.
Thanks, everyone. I'm waving.
Wave,
I've got a wave Thank you ever so much. And yeah, hope everyone enjoyed this. And yeah, we look forward to doing the next one soon. Good work, everybody.